Hello stars, my name is Luxy. Welcome to my domain. Are you ready to be entertained? Because today we are talking about
Sookie.
Today I'll be comparing the first Sookie Stackhouse book to season 1 of True Blood. And hopefully by the end of this video, I'll have you completely obsessed with this messy little southern vampire story. So grab your True Blood and let's get into it. My first encounter with True Blood was actually when I was really young. I remember flipping through my favorite teen magazines and constantly seeing little articles about this new vampire show everybody was talking about. But at the time, I was still deep in my Twilight era. I was obsessed with Twilight. The Little Vampire, The Vampire Diaries, Van Helsing, The Vampire Sisters, Dracula, and the list goes on and on and on. Basically anything pale and undead. So even though I was already a full supernatural freak, I never actually watched True Blood as a kid. And honestly, now I understand why. Because this ain't Twilight, girl. A couple years ago, I finally stumbled onto this gothic southern vampire drama, and I immediately realized this series was doing something very different. True Blood is an adult fantasy. It's messy, sexual, violent, political, chaotic, and honestly kind of trashy in the best way possible. And what really refreshed me was the fact that the story isn't about high school teenagers discovering love for the first time. These are adults with jobs, addictions, trauma, bills to pay, and weird vampire problems, of course. So let's meet our main girl, Sookie Stackhouse. Sookie is a young waitress working at Merlotte's Bar and Grill in Bon Temps, Louisiana. Now in both the books and the series, vampires have recently come out of the coffin thanks to True Blood, a synthetic blood created in Japan that allows vampires to survive without feeding on humans publicly. Basically, vampires are trying to integrate into society, and humanity is not handling it well, as expected of course.
Good evening and welcome to In Focus, where tonight's primetime network exclusive is shedding light on vampires in America. They call it the Great Revelation, the moment vampires across the world went on television and revealed their existence to the rest of us. They've been among us all along, they said, and after centuries of hiding in the shadows, they decided collectively to come out of the coffin, so to speak. But no matter how you put it, one thing's for certain, the world hasn't been the same since. Our John Hansen has the story.
We're citizens. We pay taxes. We deserve basic civil rights just like everyone else.
I mean, come on, doesn't your race have a rather sordid history of exploiting and feeding off innocent people?
Number one, show me documentation. Doesn't exist. And most importantly, point number two, doesn't your race have a history of exploitation? We never owned slaves, Bill, or detonated nuclear weapons.
Well,
Currently I'm reading book 8, by the way, and I still think season 1 is probably the closest adaptation of the books. After that, the HBO series really starts picking and choosing storylines instead of following the books directly. And one of the biggest differences is perspective. The books are completely from Sookie's point of view. Everything happens through her. Which honestly makes sense because she's literally telepathic. Meanwhile, the show gives every single character their own storyline and POV. Personally, I think the show sometimes loses focus because of that. Sookie should have stayed more central, especially considering how interesting her powers and supernatural lore actually are. But that's tea for another video. And before we go deeper into the story, we need to talk about the characters because the book version and the HBO version are sometimes completely different people. Sookie feels softer, sweeter, and more practical, while show Sookie is way more emotional and bold. Book Bill is more of an old-school southern gentleman, while HBO Bill feels darker, more gothic, and honestly, slightly terrifying. In the books, Jason is mostly just Sookie's hot idiot brother, but the show gives him way more emotional depth and self-destruction. And then there is Lafayette, probably the biggest glow-up in adaptation history, because this man was a minor character in the books and became one of the best characters in the entire show. Book Sam feels like a quiet small-town boss, while HBO Sam is far more mysterious and brooding. And then there is Eric Nordman. Book Eric is basically a Viking prince, while HBO Eric feels a bit more modern and intimidating. He doesn't have a huge role in season 1, but trust me, this is only the beginning of his story. Book Tara is a much smaller and softer character, while HBO Tara becomes one of the emotional centers of the show. The first book is actually less focused on vampire politics and more focused on Bon Temps itself. It's about prejudice, religion, addiction, fear, and small-town gossip. And of course, murder. Because while vampires are trying to integrate into society, women in Bon Temps start getting killed left and right, which immediately causes people to blame either Vampire Bill or Jason, Sookie's messy bimbo brother. And this is where True Blood starts building its world. You have vampire lovers.
I actually think that people are kind of jealous.
Meet Alexa, one of a growing number of people who seek out the romantic company of vampires. And this is her boyfriend, David.
Imagine being with someone who's had 200 years to learn how to please a woman, but who still has the body of a 27-year-old.
So vampires...
Ion-potent. Yes.
Tell me about it. And with vampires, you don't need birth control.
How do you feel about the word that some people use to describe your taste? I believe it's fangbanger?
I think it's vulgar. It implies that I'm some sort of prostitute. I prefer fangophile.
Okay, as a fangophile, you let him suck your blood.
Of course. He likes it.
You do.
I do prefer real blood.
It's a total turn on.
But aren't you concerned about becoming a vampire yourself?
No. You don't become a vampire just by letting one suck your blood.
Well, how do you become one then?
All I know is I'm not a vampire, and we've both had each other's blood plenty of times.
So you have tasted his blood. Why would you do that?
Because it's awesome.
Awesome. What do you mean?
If you tried it, you'd know.
Vampire haters.
Entire regions of the globe reacted with outrage and panic. There were widespread riots in Latin America, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe, and many persecuted vampires had to flee for their safety. And where did these vampires want to go? Why, to the US, of course. In fact, so many vampires came here seeking asylum that they revived the debate on that most American of hot-button political issues, immigration.
Religious extremists.
Meet the Reverend Theodore Newland of the Fellowship of the Sun, an anti-vampire church movement. His message has been spreading far and wide thanks in part to podcasts like this one.
I assure you that the light of the Lord will soon shine down upon them all, and then they will see His terrible glory.
When you refer to the light of the Lord catching up to the vampires, what do you mean?
Eventually, all vampires will be forced to greet the sun.
And who will be doing the forcing?
That's up to the Lord. But as far as I know, God has no law against taking the out of the undead.
Sounds to me a bit like the gospel according to Reverend Newland.
All one needs to do is look at the facts. They made their existence known to us with the advent of synthetic blood. Why? So they could convince us that they were not a threat, because they no longer needed to feed off of us. This implies that for the centuries preceding synthetic blood, that they were a threat, that they did feed off of us.
A fair point, to be sure.
Fangbangers.
It tends to get more authentic as the night wears on. Can I get you something to drink?
Me, I got a dog collar too.
Hey, Morticia, how'd you like me to rip that tape off your tits?
It ain't gay if a guy's a vampire, is it?
I'm gonna get kicked out of my fright if I don't fuck a vampire tonight.
Hi. I'm Taryn.
And people addicted to vampire blood.
One drop. That's all you need. Can't be greedy. Billions of molecules of pure, undiluted, 24-karat life. You take this in and you take in a piece of the vampire it came from. The trick is, you have to let it take you deep. Follow it. Soak it in.
What kind of vampire is that?
He's new.
Yes, vampire blood is basically a supernatural drug in this universe. People drink it to get high because it has an intense narcotic effect, which creates an entire underground black market around vampires. Anyway, back to Sookie. One random night at Merlot's, a mysterious man walks in and orders a True Blood. And immediately, everybody in the diner realizes this man is a vampire. But Sookie already knew, because for the first time in her life, she can't hear somebody's thoughts. And instead of being scared, she is fascinated. Honestly, imagine hearing everybody's thoughts 24/7, like a broken radio station in your head, and suddenly meeting somebody who is finally silent. To me, season 1 still captures the vibe of the first book really well, even with all the changes. You still get the murder mystery, the southern gothic atmosphere, vampire politics, messy romance, and the chaos of Bon Temps. But later seasons definitely became their own thing, and honestly, I kind of love both versions for different reasons. Anyway, stars, thank you for entering my domain once again, or for the first time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the messy little world of Bon Temps, make sure to like, subscribe, and maybe donate a bottle of True Blood to the channel. And remember, around here, nobody stays human for long. Bye, stars!